My name is Patricia Teller. I'm 32 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I became a widow. The day my husband passed, I called my parents sobbing, barely able to get the words out, and my mother said, "Honey, we're in the middle of Madison's birthday brunch. Can this wait?" It couldn't. My husband was gone. But apparently, my sister's mimosas mattered more. Days later, they showed up at my door, not to grieve, but to demand 50% of everything Michael left behind. They said I couldn't be trusted with that much money. They said Madison needed it more. They said family helps family. But when my 8-year-old daughter handed them an envelope and asked, "Is this why you came?" everything changed. Inside was a letter from my late husband, and when they read it, their hands started shaking. Before I tell you what was in that letter, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you think people should stand up for themselves when family crosses the line. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing this story is reaching people all over the world. Let me take you back to the day it all started. It was a Saturday evening, September 14th. I was folding laundry in the living room while Emma watched cartoons upstairs. Michael had gone to pick up groceries. Just a quick run to the store, 20 minutes round trip. He'd kissed me goodbye at the door. "Need anything else?" he'd asked. I'd laughed. "Just you. Back safe." Those were the last words I ever said to him. My phone rang at 6:32 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Mrs. Teller?" A woman's voice, professional but soft. "This is Mercy General Hospital. I'm calling about your husband, Michael Teller." The laundry basket slipped from my hands. "There was an accident on Route 47. A drunk driver ran a red light. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Teller, but your husband didn't survive." I don't remember what I said next. I think I screamed. I know I dropped the phone. Emma came running downstairs, her face pale with fear. "Mommy? Mommy, what's wrong?" I couldn't answer her. I could barely breathe. I picked up my phone with shaking hands and dialed my parents. They would know what to do. They would come. They had to come. Mom answered on the third ring. I could hear music in the background. Laughter, the clink of glasses. "Patricia," she said, her voice bright. "Sweetheart, what is it?" "Mom," my voice cracked. "Michael, he's... Honey, we're in the middle of Madison's birthday brunch. Can this wait?" I tried again. "Mom, Michael's dead." There was a pause. 2 seconds of silence. "Oh, honey, that's terrible," she said, her tone shifting only slightly. "But we're with guests right now. We'll call you tomorrow, okay?" I heard my father's voice in the background. "Is everything okay?" "It's Patricia," Mom replied. "Nothing urgent." The line went dead. I sat on the kitchen floor, phone still pressed to my ear, and felt something inside me break that had nothing to do with Michael's death. The funeral was 4 days later. September 18th. A Tuesday. I stood at the front of the chapel, one hand gripping Emma's small fingers, the other resting on the polished wood of Michael's casket. The room was full, his co-workers, college friends, neighbors we'd known for years, people who cared, people who showed up, but not my parents, not my sister. Emma looked up at me with wide, confused eyes. "Mommy, where's Grandma and Grandpa?" I swallowed hard. "They're busy, sweetheart." "But Daddy died." "I know, baby." She didn't ask again. At 8 years old, she already understood more than she should have. Michael's boss, Mr. Smith, came over during the reception. He shook my hand firmly, his eyes red-rimmed. "He talked about you and Emma every day," he said. He was so proud of you both, and he set everything up to make sure you'd be okay. I nodded, not trusting my voice. If you need anything, Mr. Smith continued, anything at all, call me. That night, after everyone left and Emma finally fell asleep, I checked my phone. 5 missed calls, all from friends offering help, none from my family. But there was one text message from Madison, sent at 11:47 p.m. Hey sis, heard about Michael. That's rough. Call me when you're free? I stared at the message. Rough. Like Michael dying was a bad day at work. Like losing the love of my life was just an inconvenience. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened Instagram. Madison's stories were still up from the weekend. Photos of her birthday celebration. A brunch at a fancy restaurant downtown. Champagne flutes raised. Her caption reading, Blessed with family. I closed the app and cried myself to sleep on Michael's side of the bed. The next morning, I forced myself to sit at the kitchen table with Michael's laptop and face reality. Bills, bank accounts, insurance papers. Michael had always handled the finances, not because I couldn't, but because he enjoyed it. Now I had to figure everything out alone. The numbers swam in front of my eyes. The house was paid off. Michael had insisted on that years ago. If anything ever happens to me, he'd said once, joking, at least you'll have a roof over your head. I'd laughed then. It wasn't funny anymore. There was $180,000 in savings, a life insurance policy for $500,000, investment accounts I didn't fully understand, a college fund for Emma that Michael had been contributing to since she was born. I'd never managed this much money before. For 7 years, I'd been a stay-at-home mom. It was a choice we'd made together. Michael's job paid well, and Emma needed me. But now, looking at these numbers, I felt overwhelmed. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Seriously, call me. I set the phone down. Another notification. An email from someone named Harrison, a law firm in downtown. The subject line read, Estate of Michael David Teller. I opened it with trembling hands. Dear Mrs. Teller, I am the executor of your husband's will. Michael retained our services 6 months ago to ensure his estate was properly managed. Please schedule an appointment at your earliest convenience to discuss the terms of his estate. Sincerely, Gerald Harrison Esco. 6 months ago. Michael had planned this 6 months ago and never mentioned it. I stared at the email for a long time. What else had he prepared? What else had he known? 3 days after the funeral, the doorbell rang at 10 in the morning. I wasn't expecting anyone. Emma was upstairs in her room, drawing pictures of her father. Her therapist said it would help her process. I wiped my hands on my jeans and opened the door. My parents stood on the porch. Madison was behind them, holding a coffee cup from Starbucks. Patricia. Mom stepped forward and pulled me into a brief hug. Her perfume was overwhelming. We're so sorry we couldn't make it to the funeral, dear. Madison's event was already planned, you understand. I stood frozen. The funeral was 4 days ago. I know, sweetheart, but we're here now. She walked past me into the house like she owned it. Dad followed, giving my shoulder an awkward pat. Madison trailed behind, her eyes scanning the living room. Nice place, she murmured. Michael really did well for himself. I closed the door and turned to face them. My heart was pounding. What are you doing here? We came to see you, Mom said, settling onto the couch. To check on you and Emma. Dad sat in Michael's chair. I wanted to tell him to move, but the words stuck in my throat. Where's Emma? Madison asked. Upstairs, drawing. Poor thing, Mom said. This must be so hard for her. I waited. Something felt wrong. They weren't here to comfort me. The air was too thick with tension, too deliberate. Dad cleared his throat. Patricia, we need to talk about Michael's estate. There it was. Mom leaned forward. You're still young, honey. Managing that much money is complicated. We think it's best if we help. Madison added. Yeah, sis. You've never worked in finance. We just want to make sure Emma's future is secure. I felt my hands curl into fists. Dad reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. He set it on the coffee table between us. We consulted a lawyer, he said. As your parents, we have the right to contest the will if we believe you're not capable of managing it properly. My mouth went dry. Mom's voice was gentle, reasonable. We're not being greedy, Patricia. But 50% should go to family, to help Madison start her business and secure our retirement. I looked at Madison. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I've been working on this startup for 2 years, she said quietly. This is my chance. You want half. My voice sounded hollow. Half of what Michael left for Emma and me. Dad sighed. Don't be dramatic. You'll still have plenty. And we're family. We take care of each other. I thought of the phone call. Can this wait? I thought of the funeral they'd missed. The birthday brunch with champagne and hashtags about being blessed. This is what family meant to them. This. I stood up. I need time to think. Mom's expression tightened just slightly. Of course, dear. But don't take too long. Madison's investors are waiting. Dad tucked the folder back into his briefcase. We'll give you a week. But Patricia, be reasonable about this. We're only trying to help. They stood to leave. Madison paused at the door. I really am sorry about Michael, she said. The words sounded rehearsed. I didn't respond. After they left, I locked the door and leaned against it. Upstairs, Emma's footsteps creaked across the floor. I heard her little voice talking to herself, probably narrating her drawing. I thought of Michael, of the email from the lawyer, of what he'd said once, years ago, after a tense Thanksgiving with my family. If anything ever happens to me, don't let anyone take what's yours and Emma's. I've made sure of it. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Harrison. The phone calls started the next day. Mom called at 9 a.m., then again at noon, then at 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 7 p.m. I let every call go to voicemail. Madison sent texts. Hey, have you thought about what we discussed? Then, we're just trying to look out for you. Then, don't shut us out, Patricia. Dad left a voicemail on the second day. His voice was stern. Patricia, this is getting ridiculous. We're trying to help you. Call us back. I didn't. I was scheduled to meet Mr. Harrison on Friday. 3 more days. I could hold out 3 more days. Emma noticed. Mommy, why is Grandma calling so much? I knelt down to her level. They just want to check on us, baby. She tilted her head, studying my face. You look sad when the phone rings. Kids see everything. On Thursday afternoon, Madison posted on Facebook. The post was vague but pointed. Sometimes family disappoints you when you need them most. Within an hour, 3 friends had texted me. Is everything okay? Saw Madison's post. What happened? Are you in a fight with your family? I turned my phone off. That evening, I sat with Emma on the couch. We watched her favorite movie, something about a princess and a dragon. She curled against my side, her small hand holding mine. Mommy, she whispered during a quiet scene. Yeah, baby? Is Daddy watching us? My throat tightened. I think so. Good. She squeezed my hand. Then he knows we're okay. I kissed the top of her head and tried to believe it. Friday morning, I put on my best dress. The navy one Michael always said made me look confident. I needed that confidence now. Mr. Harrison's office was downtown, in an old brick building with tall windows. The law office smelled like old books and furniture polish. A receptionist led me down a hallway lined with legal texts and framed degrees. Mr. Harrison's name was on a brass plate beside a heavy wooden door. He stood when I entered, a man in his mid-50s with gray hair and kind eyes. Mrs. Teller. He shook my hand firmly. I'm so sorry for your loss. Michael was a good man. Thank you. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk. He opened a thick file folder. Your husband came to see me 6 months ago. He was very specific about what he wanted. He never told me. Mr. Harrison smiled gently. He didn't want to worry you, but he wanted to make sure you and Emma would be protected, no matter what. Protected from what? He pulled out a document and slid it across the desk. From people who might try to take advantage of your grief. I stared at the papers. Last will and testament of Michael David Teller. Everything goes to you and Emma, Mr. Harrison explained. The house, all financial accounts, life insurance, investments. It's an airtight will. Your parents have no legal claim unless they can prove undue influence or mental incapacity, which they can't. Relief flooded through me. So they can't take anything? They can try to contest it, he said carefully, but it will cost them legal fees and they'll fail. Michael made sure of that. He paused, then reached into the folder again. There's one more thing. Michael left you a letter. He asked me to give it to you when this moment came. He handed me an envelope. My name was written on it in Michael's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter was 2 pages, front and back. Michael's handwriting, messy but familiar. I'd seen it on grocery lists, birthday cards, sticky notes left on the bathroom mirror. My dearest Patricia, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and someone is trying to take what belongs to you and Emma. I'm going to guess it's your parents, probably with Madison's support. My breath caught. I know your parents. I've watched how they treat you versus Madison for 7 years. I've sat through Christmases where they gave her expensive gifts and gave you gift cards. I've listened to them praise her accomplishments while dismissing yours. I've seen you smile through it all because you didn't want to cause trouble. They'll come after the inheritance, not because they need it, but because they think you're weak and won't fight back. Tears blurred the words. Patricia, you are the strongest person I know. You just never had a reason to show it. You've raised our daughter with love and patience. You've made our house a home. You've supported my career and never once complained about the long hours or the stress. You are not weak. You are not incapable. And you deserve every penny I worked for, because you worked just as hard making our family a family. I've set up everything so that you and Emma will be safe. Trust Mr. Harrison, trust the process, and trust yourself. There's a second envelope in my desk drawer at home, labeled for Emma's hands only. Give it to her when they come asking. She'll know what to do. I love you. I'm sorry I had to leave, but I promise I'm still protecting you. Forever yours, Michael. I folded the letter carefully and looked up at Mr. Harrison through tears. He knew, I whispered. He knew exactly what they'd do. Yes, Mr. Harrison said gently. He did. I drove home in a daze. Michael's letter was in my purse, pressed against my heart like a talisman. Emma was with a neighbor. Mrs. Chen had offered to watch her during my appointment. The house was empty when I walked in. Silent. I went straight to Michael's office. We'd never changed it after he died. His coffee mug still sat on the desk, half full and forgotten. His jacket hung on the back of his chair. Photos of Emma lined the bookshelf. First day of kindergarten, gap-toothed smile, princess costume from last Halloween. I opened the bottom drawer of his desk. The envelope was right where Michael said it would be. White, business-sized, with Emma's name written in careful block letters. For Emma's hands only, when they ask. I held it up to the light. I couldn't see through the paper. Every instinct screamed at me to open it, to know what Michael had planned. But the instructions were clear. Emma's hands, not mine. I heard the front door open. "Mommy," Emma's voice called out. "Mrs. Chen brought me home." I stood quickly, slipping the envelope into my pocket. Emma appeared in the doorway. She looked at me standing in her father's office, and her expression softened. "Do you miss Daddy?" "Every second," I said honestly. She walked over and hugged my waist. "Me too." I held her tight. "Emma, I need to ask you something." She looked up. "Okay. If Grandma and Grandpa come back and they ask about money, I need you to give them something. Can you do that for me?" She nodded seriously. "What is it?" I pulled out the envelope and handed it to her. She read the label slowly. "This is for me?" "It's from Daddy. He wanted you to give it to them." Emma's eyes widened. "When?" "You'll know when." Mom called again on Sunday morning. This time I answered. "Patricia!" Her voice was bright, relieved. "Finally! Sweetheart, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. We're having a family lunch at our house this Sunday. Please come." I gripped the phone tighter. "I don't think that's a good idea right now." "Patricia, we need to resolve this. Uncle Tom and Aunt Sarah will be there too. We're all worried about you." Uncle Tom and Aunt Sarah. She was building an audience. This wasn't just a family lunch, it was a trap. They wanted to pressure me in front of everyone. "I'll think about it." "Sweetheart," Mom's voice hardened just slightly. "This isn't optional. Family needs to be together, especially after a loss like this. 1 o'clock. Don't be late." She hung up before I could respond. I stood in the kitchen staring at my phone. I could refuse to go. I could ignore them all. But something Michael wrote kept echoing in my mind. "You are the strongest person I know. You just never had a reason to show it. Maybe it was time to show it." I called out to Emma. She came downstairs, still in her pajamas. "What's up, Mommy?" "We're going to Grandma and Grandpa's house for lunch next Sunday." Her face lit up, then fell. "Will they be nice to us?" The question broke my heart. 8 years old and already learning that family could hurt you. "I don't know, baby, but we'll be okay, I promise." That evening, I helped Emma pick out a dress for Sunday. She chose her favorite, the blue one with white flowers that Michael had bought her for her birthday. "Should I bring the envelope Daddy left?" she asked. I looked at her, surprised by how perceptive she was. "Not yet, baby, but bring your little purse. We'll keep it safe there." Sunday arrived too quickly. I pulled into my parents' driveway at 12:55 p.m. 8 cars were already parked along the street. My stomach twisted. Emma held my hand as we walked to the door. She'd tucked the envelope carefully into her small purse. I could see the corner peeking out. Madison opened the door. "Patricia?" "Emma." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Come in." The dining room was full. Uncle Tom and Aunt Sarah sat at the far end. Cousin David was there with his wife. Cousin Jessica waved at Emma. My parents stood near the kitchen, talking in low voices. Everyone stopped when we entered. "Patricia!" Mom hurried over, pulling me into a hug that felt performative. "I'm so glad you came." Dad gestured to 2 empty chairs. "Sit down. Let's eat first, then we'll talk." The meal was silent in all the wrong ways. People made polite conversation, weather, sports, Jessica's new job, but kept glancing at me like I was a problem to be solved. Emma ate her pasta quietly, her purse tucked beside her chair. After dessert, Uncle Tom cleared his throat. Patricia, we heard about the inheritance. That's quite a sum. The room fell silent. Aunt Sarah added carefully, we're all family here. We should support each other. I set down my fork. What are you saying? Dad leaned forward. We're saying that $500,000 is a lot of money for someone who's never managed finances before. And we're worried, Mom said, about you making decisions while you're grieving. Madison spoke up. We just think it would be better if the family helped manage it, for Emma's sake. I looked around the table. Every pair of eyes was on me, waiting, judging. This was their plan. Outnumber me, make me feel small. Emma's hand found mine under the table. Dad stood up, his voice taking on that authoritative tone he used when he wanted to end a discussion. Patricia, we've all discussed this. We think you're making a mistake by keeping everything. Discussed? I repeated. You discussed my husband's estate? Without me? We're trying to protect you, Mom said. Madison leaned forward. You've never handled money before. What if you lose it all? What about Emma's future? Emma's future is secure, I said quietly. Michael made sure of it. Did he? Dad challenged. Or did he assume you'd have family support? Uncle Tom shifted uncomfortably. Robert, maybe. She needs to hear this. Dad cut him off. Patricia, your mother and I raised you. We sacrificed for you. Don't we deserve something for all those years? The room felt too small, too hot. Cousin David added, my parents helped raise you too. They were always there for family events. I felt my face flush. And where were you all at Michael's funeral? Silence. Where were you? I continued, my voice shaking, when I called to say my husband was dead? Mom's face went pale. Patricia, we explained. You were at a birthday party, I said, drinking champagne while I planned my husband's funeral alone. Madison stood up. That's not fair. We came as soon as we could. 3 days later, asking for money. We're asking you to be reasonable. Dad's voice rose. Michael didn't understand that family takes care of each other. He didn't know how we do things. You're being selfish, Patricia, Madison said, her voice sharp. The room went silent. Everyone stared at me, waiting for me to fold, to apologize, to give in. Emma squeezed my hand tighter. Then she let go and stood up. Hey everyone, if you've ever been in a situation where your whole family stood against you, hit that like button so I know you understand what I felt in that moment. And if you want to see how an 8-year-old changed everything with one simple question, make sure you're subscribed, because what happens next is something nobody at that table expected. Now watch what my daughter did. Emma walked around the table toward my parents. Her little Mary Jane shoes clicked on the hardwood floor. The room watched her with curious, uncertain expressions. Grandpa? Her voice was small but clear. Dad's face softened immediately. Yes, sweetheart? Can I say something? Of course you can. Emma reached into her purse and pulled out the white envelope. She held it carefully, the way she held precious things, like the rocks she collected from the park or the drawings she made of her father. She walked up to Dad and held out the envelope. Daddy told me to give you this when you came to ask. Mom frowned. Ask for what, honey? Emma looked up with those wide, innocent 8-year-old eyes. For money. That's why you came, right? The room went completely still. Dad took the envelope slowly. His hand trembled slightly. Emma, sweetheart, we're not here for money. We're here because we love you and your mommy. Emma tilted her head. Then why did Grandma say you needed 50%? I watched my mother's face drain of color. We Mom started. And why didn't you come when Daddy died? Emma continued. Mommy cried all night. I heard her. Aunt Sarah's fork clattered against her plate. Dad stared at the envelope in his hands. The handwriting on it, Michael's handwriting, stared back. For Emma's hands only, when they ask. Madison leaned over. What is it? Uncle Tom watched from the other end of the table, his expression unreadable. Dad's fingers fumbled with the seal. He pulled out two folded pieces of paper, a letter and what looked like legal documents. He started reading. His face went from pale to flushed in seconds. Mom grabbed his arm. What does it say? Dad's hands started shaking. Madison snatched the letter from Dad's hands. What does it say? She scanned the first few lines and her face went white. You can't be serious. Read it out loud, Aunt Sarah said quietly. Madison's hands shook. She cleared her throat. To Robert and Linda Teller, if you are reading this, it means you have asked my wife and daughter for money after my death. The room erupted in whispers. Keep reading, I said calmly. Madison continued, her voice cracking. I knew this would happen. I've known for years how you treat Patricia compared to Madison. I've watched you dismiss her accomplishments and prioritize your younger daughter at every turn. Mom stood up. This is ridiculous. Michael had no right. Keep reading, Madison, I repeated. She looked at me, then back at the letter. I have left 100% of my estate to Patricia and Emma Teller. This is my legal right and my choice. They are my family. They are my priority. Uncle Tom leaned forward, listening intently. If you attempt to contest this will, Madison paused, swallowing hard. If you attempt to contest this will, my attorney Gerald Harrison has been instructed to release documentation of your refusal to attend my funeral. Cousin David's eyes widened. You didn't go to the funeral? Madison kept reading, her voice barely above a whisper. Specifically, the phone call on September 14th at 6:47 p.m., where Patricia informed Linda of my death, and Linda chose to stay at Madison's birthday party. This phone call was recorded as part of my emergency contact protocol. It is time-stamped and verified. The room exploded. You didn't go to his funeral? Aunt Sarah asked, her voice rising. You knew he died and you stayed at a party? Jessica stared at my mother. Mom tried to speak. It wasn't, we were going to, but no one was listening anymore. Madison's voice shook as she continued reading. The call was recorded through my employer's emergency contact system. The timestamp is verified. The content is indisputable. Dad grabbed the second paper, a photocopy of the will. His eyes scanned it frantically. Furthermore, Madison read, her face crumbling, any attempt to publicly shame or pressure Patricia will result in this documentation being shared with your church community and extended family network. I do not make this threat lightly. I make it to protect my wife from people who have spent her entire life making her feel less than. Mom sank into her chair. Michael wouldn't. He did, I said quietly. He knew exactly what you'd do. Uncle Tom stood up abruptly. Robert, Linda. His voice was cold. You didn't attend your son-in-law's funeral? We were going to come later, Dad protested. We just... Madison's birthday was more important? Tom's jaw clenched. Are you serious? Aunt Sarah looked at Mom with disgust. I was at that brunch. You never mentioned Patricia's husband dying. I didn't want to ruin Madison's day, Mom whispered. So you ruined Patricia's? Jessica spoke up, her voice sharp. She lost her husband, and you couldn't even show up? David shook his head slowly. And now you're here demanding money? Madison set the letter down on the table. Her hands were still trembling. The will is legal, she said hollowly. Signed, notarized, witnessed. He left everything to Patricia and Emma. There's nothing we can do. Dad stared at the papers. This can't be enforceable. The recording is perfectly legal in this state, I said. I'd looked it up. Single party consent. Michael was on the call. He had every right to record it. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood up slowly. Emma immediately came to my side, slipping her hand into mine. Michael knew this would happen, I said, my voice steady. Because it's happened my whole life. Madison always got the attention, the support, the benefit of the doubt. Patricia, Mom started. I was the responsible one, the one who didn't need help, the one who'd figure it out. I looked at each of them. But responsible really meant invisible. It meant you could ignore me when it mattered most. Dad tried to interrupt. Patricia, this is family business. No, Dad, this is my business. Michael's will is legal. Mr. Harrison confirmed it. Everything goes to Emma and me, and there's nothing you can contest. We raised you, Mom said, tears streaming down her face. Doesn't that count for something? It does, I said honestly, and I'm grateful. But that doesn't give you the right to half of what my husband left for his daughter. Madison stood up. Patricia, I didn't know they were going to. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You texted me about Michael dying. You called it rough, like losing my husband was a bad day at work. She flinched. I picked up my purse. Emma and I are leaving now. If you want to contest the will, talk to your lawyer. But Mr. Harrison has the recording, the documentation, and a very clear set of instructions. Uncle Tom cleared his throat. Patricia, I think you're doing the right thing. Aunt Sarah nodded. If I'd known, I would have been at that funeral. Jessica stood. Me too. I'm sorry, Patricia. I looked at my parents one last time. You made your choice on September 14th. Now I'm making mine. Emma and I walked to the door. Behind us, voices erupted into argument. How could you not tell us? That was Tom. Robert, this is shameful. Sarah's voice sharp with anger. Mom, Dad, you need to fix this. David's voice. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Dad's voice rose above the others. You're going to regret this, Patricia. I paused at the doorway, turned back just enough so he could see my face. The only thing I regret is not setting boundaries sooner. Emma tugged my hand. Let's go, Mommy. We walked to the car in silence. Behind us, I could hear the front door slam. More shouting from inside the house. Emma climbed into her booster seat. I buckled her in, my hands surprisingly steady. Mommy? She said as I started the engine. Are you okay? I looked at her in the rearview mirror, my beautiful, perceptive daughter. Michael's eyes looking back at me. I'm more than okay, baby. I'm free. The drive home took 15 minutes. Emma hummed quietly in the back seat, already moving past what had happened. Kids were resilient like that. My phone buzzed as we pulled into the driveway. Texts were flooding in. Jessica. I'm so sorry. I had no idea they did that. Tom. Your parents owe you an apology. That was inexcusable. Sarah. If you need anything, call us. And one from Madison. Can we talk? Please? I silenced my phone. Inside, Emma went straight to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of milk. What's for dinner? How about pizza? I suggested. Her face lit up. With extra cheese? With extra cheese. While Emma watched cartoons, I sat at the kitchen table and finally let myself breathe. Really breathe. For the first time in 3 weeks, I felt like I could. Michael had protected us. Even in death, he'd protected us. If you've ever had to cut ties with family to protect yourself or your children, leave a heart in the comments. I want you to know you're not alone in that decision. And if you want to see what happened in the weeks after I walked out of that house, hit subscribe, because the story doesn't end here. Some of my family reached out to apologize. Others never spoke to me again. Here's what happened next. The first thing I did Monday morning was block my parents' numbers, then Madison's. It felt like cutting off a limb. Painful but necessary. I kept Tom and Sarah's numbers. They'd proven themselves. Jessica, too. By Tuesday, I had an email from Tom. Patricia, Sarah and I support your decision completely. If you need anything, childcare, a meal, someone to talk to, we're here. I replied with 2 words. Thank you. Wednesday, I updated my Facebook settings, made my profile private, limited who could see my posts. I wasn't hiding, I was protecting my peace. Thursday, I posted something simple, visible only to close friends. Sometimes protecting your peace means disappointing people who never protected yours. 47 likes, dozens of supportive comments. You're so strong, Patricia. Good for you for setting boundaries. Your daughter is lucky to have you. Madison tried to reach me through Instagram. Her message sat in my request folder. Can we talk? I didn't know Mom and Dad were going to do that. I never wanted this. I left it unread. Friday evening, Emma asked the question I'd been dreading. We were sitting on the couch, sharing popcorn and watching a movie. Mommy, will we ever see Grandma and Grandpa again? I muted the TV. I don't know, baby. Maybe someday, if they learn to respect our boundaries. What's boundaries? It means treating people with kindness and respect, even when you don't get what you want. She thought about this. Grandma and Grandpa weren't kind. No, they weren't. Did Daddy know they wouldn't be? I pulled her close. Yes, that's why he protected us. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Daddy was smart. My eyes filled with tears. He really was. We finished the movie. Emma fell asleep on my lap. I carried her up to bed and tucked her in, kissing her forehead. Downstairs, my phone buzzed. Another text from Madison. I deleted it without reading. 2 weeks after the family lunch, a certified letter arrived. I stared at it on the kitchen table. The return address was a law firm I didn't recognize. Inside was a formal notice. My parents were officially contesting Michael's will. Their grounds? Emotional distress and undue influence during estate planning. My hand shook as I read it. Emma was at school. The house was quiet. I picked up my phone and called Mr. Harrison. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Teller, I've been expecting your call. They're really doing this. Yes, I received the same notice this morning. His voice was calm, steady. Don't worry, they have no grounds whatsoever. But the letter says they're grasping at straws. They have to prove Michael was mentally unsound or that you manipulated him. Neither is true, and they have no evidence. So what happens now? I respond. I send them the documentation, the recording, the will, the affidavits from the witnesses, and I include a warning about their potential legal costs if they continue. How much will that cost me? Nothing. Michael's estate covers all legal fees for will defense. He planned for this too. I sat down heavily. He really did think of everything. He loved you very much, Mrs. Teller. After we hung up, I made tea and sat by the kitchen window. Outside, leaves were starting to turn orange and gold. Fall was coming, Michael's favorite season. Mr. Harrison worked quickly. By the end of the week, I had a copy of his response letter. It was professional, thorough, and devastating. The recording was attached, time-stamped, verified, along with a list of Michael's medical records showing perfect mental health, and statements from his employer, his doctor, and 3 friends confirming he was of sound mind when he created the will. 1 week later, I received another letter. My parents' lawyer was withdrawing from the case. The news spread through the family like wildfire. Jessica called me. Patricia, did you hear? Dad and Mom's lawyer dropped them. I heard. Everyone knows now. About the funeral, the phone call, everything. She paused. Aunt Linda tried to explain it at church last Sunday. It didn't go well. I didn't ask for that, I said quietly. You didn't have to. The truth has a way of getting out. That afternoon, Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was small, shaky. Patricia, I hope one day you can forgive us. We made mistakes. We see that now. I saved the voicemail, but didn't respond. More information trickled in over the following weeks. Tom told me that several extended family members had stopped inviting my parents to events. The Thanksgiving invitation list is going around, he said. Your parents aren't on it. Tom, I never wanted. We know, but actions have consequences. They chose a birthday party over your tragedy. People don't forget that. Sarah added that several of Mom's friends from church had distanced themselves. Someone asked Linda point blank if it was true she skipped her son-in-law's funeral. Linda couldn't answer. Madison apparently told people she was taking a break and moved to her apartment across town. Her Instagram went quiet. No more birthday posts. No more hashtags about being blessed. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. These were my parents, my sister, family. But Emma deserved better. And so did I. Mr. Harrison sent me a final letter. The case is officially closed. No further action will be taken. Your inheritance is secure. I framed Michael's letter and hung it in my office. A reminder that I was loved, that I was protected, that I was stronger than I'd ever known. I met with a financial advisor in November. Her name was Rachel, and she specialized in helping young widows manage their finances. You're doing better than most people in your situation, she said, reviewing my accounts. Michael set everything up well. He was thorough. He was smart. She pulled out a planning document. Let's talk about Emma's future. We set up a proper college fund, investment accounts, a trust that Emma couldn't access until she was 25. Everything protected, everything planned. What about you? Rachel asked. What do you want? I hadn't thought about myself in months. I don't know. That's okay. You don't have to know right now. I also started therapy, not grief counseling, though we talked about Michael, but therapy to help me understand my family dynamics. You were the scapegoat, Dr. Martinez explained. Madison was the golden child, classic family pattern. I just thought I wasn't good enough. You were always good enough, Patricia. They just couldn't see it. Emma started seeing a child therapist too. Ms. Roberts was gentle, patient. She used art therapy, letting Emma draw and paint her feelings. She's processing well, Ms. Roberts told me after the third session. She misses her father, but she feels safe with you. That's the most important thing. In December, I joined a support group for young widows. 12 women, all under 40, all navigating life after loss. A woman named Rachel, different Rachel, shared her story. I had to cut off my in-laws. They tried to take my house, best decision I ever made. Others nodded. They understood. For the first time since Michael died, I didn't feel alone. That evening, Emma started piano lessons, something Michael had always wanted for her. I sat in the waiting room, listening to her fumble through scales, and cried. Not from sadness, from healing. 6 months passed. It was March now. The anniversary of Michael's death was approaching, April 14th, a day I'd been dreading, but life had found a new rhythm. Emma was thriving in school. Her teacher said she was doing remarkably well, considering everything. I'd started volunteering at the local library twice a week. It wasn't much, but it gave me purpose, made me feel useful. Emma's ninth birthday was coming up. I planned a party at our house. Just her school friends, Tom and Sarah, Jessica. Can we have a princess cake? Emma asked. We can have whatever you want. She hugged me tight. I wish Daddy could be here. Me too, baby, but he'd be so proud of you. The party was lovely. 10 little girls running around the backyard, playing games, eating too much sugar. Emma blew out her candles and made a wish. She wouldn't tell me what it was. After everyone left, Tom pulled me aside. You're doing great, Patricia. Really great. Some days are harder than others. That's normal. He squeezed my shoulder. But you're handling it. Emma's happy. That's what matters. Sarah added, Have you heard from your parents? I shook my head. No, and that's okay. They'd tried reaching out a few times, emails mostly, which I left unanswered. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. Madison sent a birthday card for Emma. It arrived the day before the party. Inside was a gift card to a bookstore and a short note. Happy birthday, Emma. I miss you. Love, Aunt Madison. Emma looked at it with confusion. Can I use the gift card? Yes. Should I say thank you? I thought about it. If you want to. She wrote a simple thank you note. I mailed it for her. Small steps. Maybe one day there would be healing. But not today. Not yet. I ran into Madison at the grocery store in late April. I was in the produce section, picking out apples. When I heard someone say my name, I turned. Madison stood 3 feet away, holding a basket. She looked thinner, tired, older somehow. Patricia, her voice was quiet. Hi, Madison. Emma was with me. She stopped, standing halfway behind me. Madison looked at Emma. Hi, Emma. You've grown so much. Emma didn't respond, just pressed closer to my side. Madison's eyes filled with tears. Look, I know I can't fix what happened, but I'm sorry. I should have been there for you. You're right, I said evenly. You should have. Can we, I don't know, maybe talk sometime? Get coffee? I considered this. The old Patricia would have said yes immediately, eager to smooth things over, to keep the peace. But I'd learned something in the past 6 months. I didn't owe anyone my peace just to make them comfortable. Maybe, I said carefully, but not right now. Emma and I are still healing. Madison nodded, wiping her eyes. I understand. I deserve that. Take care, Madison. You too. We walked in opposite directions. Emma looked up at me. Are you sad? A little, but that's okay. Do you think Aunt Madison is sad? Probably. Good, Emma said, then paused. Is that mean? I squeezed her hand. It's honest. And sometimes people need to feel sad about the choices they made. We finished shopping and went home. That night, I wrote in my journal, something Dr. Martinez had encouraged me to do. Today I saw Madison. It hurt less than I expected. Maybe that's progress. Maybe that's healing. Or maybe I just don't have any more anger left to give. I choose peace over winning. I choose Emma over proving a point. I closed the journal and felt lighter. That evening, Emma and I sat on the porch. Spring was in full bloom now, flowers in the garden that Michael had planted years ago. Emma held a cup of hot chocolate, even though it was getting warm outside. Mommy, do you think Aunt Madison really meant it? I think she meant it in that moment, I said carefully. But words are easy. Actions take time. Will we ever be a family again? I pulled her close. We're a family, Emma. You and me. And the people who show up for us. Like Uncle Tom and Aunt Sarah? Exactly. Family isn't just blood, it's who's there when it matters. Emma thought about this, sipping her chocolate. Daddy was always there. He still is, baby, in different ways. She looked up at the sky. Do you think he's watching us? I hope so. We sat in comfortable silence. A year ago, I would have been terrified of this silence, terrified of being alone with my thoughts. But now, the quiet felt peaceful. Later, after Emma went to bed, I sat at Michael's desk. I'd slowly been making it my own, clearing out old papers, adding my own things. But I'd kept his photos, his coffee mug, his favorite pen. I opened my journal again and wrote, I used to think setting boundaries meant I was being cruel. Now I know it means I'm being kind to myself and to Emma. Michael taught me that, not with words, but with his actions. He showed me what it means to protect the people you love, even when it's difficult. I paused, then added, I'm not perfect at this. I still feel guilty sometimes, but I'm learning, and that's enough. One night in early May, I opened Michael's laptop. I'd avoided it for months, but now I felt ready. I created a document and started typing. Dear Michael, it's been 8 months since you left. Emma misses you every day. So do I. But I want you to know we're okay. Because of you. Your letter, your planning, your love. It saved us. Not just financially, but emotionally. You gave me permission to stand up for myself, to protect our daughter, to believe I was strong enough. My parents tried to contest the will. They failed. The boundaries you helped me set are holding. I'm learning to live without you, but I'll never forget what you gave us safety, dignity, and a future. Emma is thriving. She's in third grade now, getting straight A's. She plays piano, your dream for her. She talks about you constantly. Daddy would have loved this. Daddy would have been proud. She's right. You would be. I joined a support group. I started therapy. I'm rebuilding myself piece by piece. Some days are hard. I still cry when I hear our song on the radio. I still reach for you in the middle of the night and remember you're not there. But I'm standing, and Emma is standing beside me. Your parents called last week. They want to meet Emma. I said no. Maybe one day, but not yet. I'm protecting her the way you protected us. Thank you, Michael, for seeing me, for loving me, for making sure we'd be okay. I miss you. Every second of every day. But I'm okay. We're okay. Forever yours, Patricia. I saved the file. Letter to Michael. Month 8. There were 7 other letters in the folder. One for each month since he'd died. I closed the laptop and went to bed feeling peaceful. September 14th arrived. 1 year since Michael died. Emma and I drove to the cemetery together. She wore the blue dress, the one Michael had bought her. I wore his favorite sweater of mine, the gray one he said matched my eyes. We brought flowers, white roses, Michael's favorite. Emma knelt by the headstone and placed the flowers carefully. Hi, Daddy. I'm in third grade now. I got an A in math. I knelt beside her, brushing dirt off the stone. We're doing okay, Michael. Just like you planned. Emma traced her fingers over his name. Do you think Daddy knows we stood up to Grandma and Grandpa? I smiled. I think he's very proud of us. We sat there for a while, talking to him, telling him about Emma's piano recital, about the library where I volunteered, about the garden that was blooming. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in the back seat. I drove slowly, listening to Michael's favorite song on the radio. I didn't cry. I just listened and remembered. At home, I tucked Emma into bed. She was half asleep. Love you, Mommy. Love you too, baby. In my room, I opened the drawer of my nightstand. Inside was the original letter Michael had left with Mr. Harrison. I'd read it dozens of times. But tonight, I read it again. You are the strongest person I know. You just never had a reason to show it. I folded the letter carefully and put it back. 1 year ago, I thought I'd lost everything, but I'd found something I didn't know I had myself. 3 weeks later, a text message arrived. It was from Mom, the first direct contact in 9 months. Patricia, it's Mother's Day next week. Can we see Emma? I stared at the message for a long time. Emma was at a friend's house. The house was quiet. I sat on the couch and thought about what I wanted. Not what they wanted. Not what would keep the peace. What I wanted. The answer came quickly. I typed, "Not yet. When I'm ready, I'll let you know." I hit send before I could second guess myself. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. Then they disappeared. No response came. That Sunday was Mother's Day. Emma made me breakfast, slightly burnt toast and scrambled eggs. It was perfect. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy. Thank you, baby. She handed me a card she'd made at school. The front had a drawing of the two of us, holding hands. Inside, "You are the best, Mommy. Love, Emma." I hugged her tight and tried not to cry. That afternoon, Tom and Sarah invited us over. Jessica was there too. They'd prepared lunch and bought me flowers. "You're doing great, Patricia," Sarah said. "Being a mother is hard. Being a single mother is harder. You're handling it with grace." I looked at Emma, playing with Jessica's dog in the backyard, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. Not pride in what I'd survived. Pride in who I'd become. That night, I got another text. This time from Madison. "Happy Mother's Day. You're an amazing mom. Emma is lucky to have you." I read it twice, then typed, "Thank you. Nothing more. Nothing less." Small steps. Maybe one day there would be more. But today, this was enough. In June, something shifted in therapy. Dr. Martinez asked me a question I'd never considered. What do you want your relationship with your family to look like in 5 years? I opened my mouth to answer, then stopped. "I don't know," I admitted. "That's okay. You don't have to know right now." She leaned forward. "But think about it. Do you want reconciliation? Do you want distance? Do you want something in between?" Over the next week, I thought about it constantly. I imagined Emma at 13, at 18, at 21. Did I want her to have a relationship with her grandparents? With her aunt? Yes, but only if they'd changed. Only if they'd earned it. I couldn't control whether they changed, but I could control my boundaries. At my next session, I told Dr. Martinez, "I want the option of reconciliation, but I don't want to force it or rush it. I want them to prove they've changed before they're part of Emma's life again." "That's fair," she said. "That's healthy." "Is it?" I asked. Sometimes I feel like I'm being cruel. Protecting yourself isn't cruel, Patricia. It's necessary. That night, I wrote a letter. Not to Michael this time, to myself. "Dear Patricia, you are not responsible for your parents' choices. You are not responsible for their hurt feelings. You are not responsible for keeping everyone happy. You are only responsible for protecting yourself and Emma. It's okay to say no. It's okay to wait. It's okay to take your time. You are enough. You have always been enough. Love yourself." I folded the letter and put it in my journal. Some days I needed the reminder, but more and more I was starting to believe it. Today is October 6th. 13 months since Michael died. I'm sitting on the porch, watching Emma play in the yard. She's running through the sprinkler, laughing. The sound fills me with joy. My phone buzzes. Another text from Mom. Patricia, please. We miss Emma. I look at the message for a moment, then type, I'm not ready. Please respect that. This time, she responds, we understand. We'll wait. It's not an apology, but it's a start. Emma runs over, dripping wet. Mommy, can we make cookies? Of course, baby, let's go. She grabs my hand and pulls me toward the house. I look back at the yard, at the garden Michael planted, at the swing set he built, at the life we made together. He's not here, but his love still is. Inside, we mix cookie dough. Emma gets flour everywhere. I don't care. These are the moments that matter. While the cookies bake, I think about the journey I've been on. From widow to warrior, from doormat to someone who knows her worth. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up, days I wanted to give in, days I wanted to just say yes to make everything stop hurting. But I didn't. For Emma, for Michael, for myself. Emma pulls cookies from the oven. Perfect. Just like you, I say. That night, after Emma goes to bed, I stand in the doorway of Michael's office. My office now. I've made it my own while keeping pieces of him. And I realize I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. If you're in a situation where family expects you to give up what's yours, remember this. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Set your boundaries. Honor your worth. And don't let anyone tell you that love means accepting disrespect. That's my story. If you've ever had to choose between family harmony and your own peace, drop a comment and tell me what you decided. I'd love to hear from you. And if you think someone needs to hear this today, please share this video. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for following Patricia's journey. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to support this channel. And don't forget to check the description below. I have links to more stories about setting boundaries, finding strength, and protecting your peace. Remember, you deserve respect, even from family. See you in the next video.